Welcome everyone to BPW Goes Digital. This initiative is to bring BPW into a digital era. It is initiated by Dr. Anhilti and myself, along with presenters and trainers who are young BPW members from across the globe. The topic for today is delivering professional development online. And we have four panelists for today. The first one is Darshini Santhanam from BPW Singapore. She's a young BPW member and also second vice president of BPW Singapore Club. Darshini is the head of Global Incubation Program for Google Cloud Learning Services. Darshini is heavily engaged in corporate diversity initiative and has founded the Women of Cloud Learning Circle in Singapore. The second panelist for today is Tabata Mazetto from BPW Brazil. She is the young representative of BPW Brazil. She is a psychologist and has served in the research group in psychology and behavioral medicine. She is a technician in environmental science since 2011 and also a researcher of the use of natural substances for the treatment of physical, psychological, logical pathologies, and not only in South America and North America, but also in African and European continent. The next panelist is Toni Osinubi from BPW Nigeria, a multilingual educationist with over 8 years in teaching and human resource management. She's passionate about children and focuses on enhancing the behavior of children while ensuring they have the right values and ethics to grow into our emotionally and socially balanced adults. The last panelist for today is Luisa Rosa from BPW Brazil. Professionally, she's an architect and she specializes in sport architecture. In recent years, she has been involved in major world sporting events. She has been present in FIFA 2014 World Cup in Brazil, currently at the FIFA Qatar 2022 World Cup, and also was present at the London Olympics in 2012 and the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. So with this, I would like to welcome our panelists, and the moderator for today will be Darshini from Singapore. And now the floor is all yours, ladies.
Thank you so much, Nilima. That was a wonderful introduction. I am incredibly honored to be moderating a panel today with these amazing ladies from around the world, Luisa, Tabata, and Toni. Today, we're here to talk about delivering professional development online. Obviously, with everything that's been going on in 2020, more and more individuals at any stage of their career, at any stage of development, are really seeking the right resources online. And today we have these diverse individuals who are representing very different styles of businesses from their lives that will hopefully give us some good ideas for how we should be thinking about doing professional development, both individually for ourselves, but also for our clubs around the world. So they're going to share a little bit about their daily jobs, what they care about, what they're passionate about, share some food for thought on how we should be engaging and how to best deliver the right new formats. So you'll learn a little bit about platforms, techniques, tips and tricks, and then we'll have a lot of time at the end to have a good round of discussions or open Q&A as well. So please start, thinking about what questions you might have for them, and we'll have the time to respond to that in the end. Okay, so to kick it off, we're going to take turns to spend about just a few minutes, 3 to 5 minutes each, telling you a little bit about what each of our panelists do. So first up, I'd like to welcome Luisa to talk about her initiative in Brazil.
Hi, hello, hi all. What I do is, as Nilima said, I work with sports architecture. So what happened is this is a market that we don't have a lot of people in the world that know about it or know this specialization. So what happened is that in the past years, as I opened my own office of architecture, sports architecture, a lot of young students and also architects started to come to me and ask more about sports architecture. They requested to me for some panelists in some schools, sometimes in some clubs of architects. And as the times go by, I started to make YouTube videos about sports architecture. So I started to record by myself at my home. And I started to teach people how sports architecture could be, what it is, how it could happen, how you could use this as a tool for development. This is what I believe. So I believe that if you can have a place for a sports, you could give health and development to young and like here in Brazil, in the communities and on the favelas here. So after that, I started this process in the YouTube, and a lot of people came to me actually to ask more about it, if I have a course and or if they could have some university specialization on this. And actually, unfortunately, sports architecture is not a area of architecture that we have some universities with this teaching people. So I started to developing this course by myself. Actually, it's just a course to teach people more specifics in my area. And also I developed an ebook to help people on this, because sports, it's we have a lot of sports, so it's a space that I use each sport. So I started with football, and then I talk about golf, then I talk about, I don't know, volleyball. And along this, I started this for developing these people. And maybe it's just a student, maybe it's an architect that didn't know the area of sports architecture and that they want to be specialized now. And this is the way I started to teach people this way. And also because of the students' parts, I have a voluntary architecture job. Then this is the way I apply my job for the young in the institutes and NGOs in the favelas and communities here in Brazil, that they use sports as this development tool. And I also enter on this to teach architecture to these people, like if they want to be an architect, how they could be and where they could be in the future, or find some development on this area. So this is the way I use the online tools as YouTube videos to online real course and ebook to teach what I know to people, this technical knowledge of sports in my area, that is architecture, to improve education for the students, to improve education for former architects. It doesn't matter. I think as many as people know more about this specialization, I think you do better in the world. So this is the way I started and the way I use the online format to reach more people than they couldn't be with me in person. So I have sometimes people from all around the world that came to my Instagram and asked more about it. And this is the way I use this tool. And I think it's a good way for people that you could start and then just do in your home, and then in a YouTube channel or an online course. There is a lot of tools for this.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Luisa. I think it's incredibly fascinating to see how you were quickly able to identify where your audiences are at and what kind of formats they wanted and were asking for, and then quickly pivoted to making that content available for them. So thank you for sharing this. This is an incredibly unique industry that you're in as well. So we'll probably have some questions for you right after. Next up, I'd like to welcome Tabata to talk about psychology and essential oils a little bit.
Yes, hello, good morning, and good afternoon, and good night, depending on where you are. So it's a pleasure to be here with you all. My experience in the field of psychology and essential oils education was coming from an experience mostly face-to-face contact. And I know that sometimes we don't start the digital process to education or training because we have no control of who is watching me. What if they don't like what I'm saying? What if they share my content? This will be recorded. These are things that I experienced both sides. But my strategy as a company in teamwork, meetings, classes, and training were all in person when I started. I traveled a lot every month. But when I decided to migrate to digital format, people accepted very well, even in health field that we didn't imagine a few years ago. And this new model brought exponential results to my business itself and more time to me. So when I started to migrate to the digital process, I simply saw the need because my company was growing in the country and abroad. So I started, even without knowing all the tools that could help me, but I started with that I had. And I think that's really important. And today, I teach and train more than 1,000 people monthly about mental health and essential oils as natural solutions of health using digital tools. We often want to take all possible courses, but buy the most expensive technological tools and then start. But today we live in a world of very fast feedback, and what we need is simply to start and adjust according to the feedback we receive from our audience. So you can keep improving, just start. We always have something to improve, but that shouldn't stop us to start in the technological field. So first thing, I think you may think that working on the internet, if you're not starting yet, will be different, but you need an agenda. I decided which days I would feed my Instagram with lives, answer my clients, and teach my students, because you need to decide which days of your week you gonna be online training through the Zoom for your company, and which days I decided which days I would give online courses on my website. My customers, I would talk to my customers to know more and more about them, and them to know more about my products. So just to summarize, first, you can separate digital tasks into specific days and hours. On the internet, rarely will anyone be charging you for content. But when you deliver that content, you keep your customers close and need to have the initiative. You need to have this, because when you put these appointments on your calendar, you will have to do it. No one will tell, hey, where's your life? And why do I encourage that? Because even in the health field, in psychology and essential oils, since the beginning of the pandemic, my company was using internet, but not 100%. We had a growth of 28%, and this started after the 100% technological use for training, classes, and sales. So I know that if we just use this time where everyone is accepting digital format to improve our business, things will grow faster and faster. So that's what I had prepared for the beginning.
Thank you so much, Tabata. I think that's such a pertinent point here. Now more than ever, everyone is adopting the digital format. So it is the best time to take your business online. It is the best time to take any offering you have for a customer online. And being present when you're saying you will be present to support your customers through this, super critical for success, because like you said, feedback is almost instant. So if you're not doing a good job, they're going to let you know. And at the same time, if you're doing a good job also, you will know. This is great. Thank you so much for sharing this experience. It sounds like you've been able to continue to maintain a lot of your work and actually grow it in the last few difficult months as well. Next, over to Toni. Toni, please share with us how you're thinking about development online.
Thank you, Darshini. Good morning, everyone. It's afternoon here. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. I am an educationist, and I teach children, and I'm involved in some volunteer work also for teenagers. I help to build their self-esteem, and basically to help them to have a sense of self-worth. And even right before the pandemic, I've always been involved in online trainings, online platforms, Future Learn, and some other learning platforms, and it has helped me, in planning. When I come online, it helps me in my planning and my execution. It basically also the success of my professional delivery, especially online, has relied basically on a planning and ensuring I set objectives, clear objectives at the beginning. When I start an online training or online teaching, I also ensure each learner takes something noteworthy from each lesson. I also like to share tips on how delivering successful online develop online teaching has helped me so far. No, number one, be familiar with the online platform you intend to use. If you're going to use Zoom, if you're going to use Google Meet, if you're going to use any other platform, WebEx, ensure you're familiar with the features before the meeting. Also set objectives before the meeting so you know where you're going to, you know where you're going to arrive at the end of the teaching. Do a test run before to ensure your device is working perfectly, your mic is working, everything, your lighting is good. Do a test run every time before and on every device you intend to use. Also be creative when working on your slides and every feature on the platform you want to use. Ensure you're creative. Ensure you bring out the best in everything you want to do, and always put up a smile when you intend to teach online. Put up a smile, put up a cheerful face. It doesn't just help you, it helps your audience, it helps those that are listening to you. It keeps them at ease and they are warm. They want to listen more when they see you with a smile and they see you calm and cheerful. Also, lastly, manage your time effectively. you your planning also would help you. If you don't plan well, your time will not be managed effectively. That's basically it. um Also, I'd like to share some platforms that have helped me, not just in teaching. I've taught online, but learning online, I've learned through Coursera, I've learned through LinkedIn Learning, Google Learning. Future Learn has helped me immensely. And then I also like to put this. This question might come up at the end, but also beyond this pandemic, I believe it has actually triggered a lot of disruptions in the educational sector. This the pandemic has encouraged a lot of people to go online, to explore more possibilities online, to discover a lot of innovative systems. And then through that, learning continues. Learning is going on and on. And it has paved the way for so many things. It's paved the way for a whole new world entirely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toni. I have to say my favorite takeaway from your one slider is to smile. And I saw a lot of faces actually light up when you said that. And it just immediately drives engagement. And we're able to bring that real world connection to what is otherwise a digital screen. So some great tips in there. Thank you so much for sharing. Even your comments about some of the platforms that are available are incredibly pertinent. And I'll say that in my job, I lead a learning services team. One of the things we think about is how we partner with businesses like Coursera and FutureLearn to actually be able to make a lot of this content available. Now more than ever before, because people want to upskill. It's not just because people have the time, but they're seeing this opportunity now that allows them to actually be able to learn something new and do something different from what they would have done last year. And they're flocking to platforms like this. So it's definitely worth, if anybody here hasn't actually taken the time to explore platforms like these, please do. And I'd add on platforms like Instagram as well, that we talked about just a little bit earlier. There's lots of places to go to. So thank you. Before we open up widely for questions, I did have a couple of questions for our panelists. The first one being, what do you predict will happen in the next 6 to 12 months when it comes to online engagement and professional development? And maybe I'll invite Luisa to respond to this first.
Hi, that's fine, Darshini. I think actually as the pandemic happened in the whole world, it was like increase a lot of these areas. So people that they didn't know how to use or they don't want because they still prefer to a more personal talk to each person. And the online model, I think, increase a lot of people and then increase it around the world. And it's a really good tool when we are talking like, in my case, that to reach people that is just not on my city, but they are on my country, they are all around the world. So I think this is an easy way to talk to people. It doesn't exclude that you can do like teaching development through personal with the other people, in my opinion. But this is like a plus for your job, for your professional, for your teaching. It doesn't matter. I think it's just, if you know how to use, you're going to gain a lot. And I could tell you that this is something really nice, that a quick story how to see that we could reach people and change people using this tool. There was a day that I was in my home, and like the woman that worked in my home came to me, and then she told me a story about her daughter, that her daughter was like on the Instagram seeing a video of a girl that she was just talking, and then she's seeing every day the Instagram of this girl that she's teaching her a lot of things, that she has 15 years old and she decided to be a sports architect. And when the woman that came to the Instagram, she saw that was me and that she worked on my home. So there is a space that I don't even know, but I'm changing a 15-year girl life, a career. She decided to be a sports architect because she saw me by the online, and she don't even know she could reach me by person. She didn't know that at that point, but I reached her in somehow by an online format. So this is what I think it's good. Like, you don't know how many people, how many lives, and how you could develop other people's and change their lives by online format. You could reach a lot of more people than in person. This is what I learned from.
That is an incredible story, Luisa. She must have been so starstruck to actually find out that she has a direct connection to you should she want it. Thank you for sharing that. Tabata, any thoughts on what you foresee will be the trends in the next 6 to 12 months when it comes to online learning?
Yes, well, as much as people say it will pass, this digital trend, especially in business, I believe will not pass. I believe it will get more and more stronger. So we need to add this to our practices, to our agendas as soon as possible. One example of this is the Albert Einstein Hospital, one of the best hospitals in Brazil. It started in a telemedicine and is now already a reference online. When did we imagine medical appointments online? Things that were very personal, in person, face to face, are migrating to online. And I believe we will stay it because it's cheaper, it's faster, it's possible, and will reach more people.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tabata. You're absolutely right. Things that we never imagined we'd be doing 10 months ago, we seem to have embraced very openly. And who knows what else is going to come online now. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Toni, what are your thoughts, especially in educating the youth and educating students?
Thank you, Darshini. I believe online, there's going to be more engagement online. The children, everything has been really flexible. Teaching and learning online, there's no traditional aspect to teaching. So I believe now there's going to be more online engagement, and the children are going to be off site and on site more often than before. Before it was strictly traditional, but now I think it's going to be a mixture of both and more of online engagement in the foreseeable future. I think that's basically what's going to happen. The children are going to, and also it will help them to improve technologically. Sorry, it will help them in exploring more basically, because now you're open to the world. Is global. Technological wise, it's more global. So you are exposed to a lot of different cultures. You're exposed to more countries online. So I believe it's more online engagement in the foreseeable future. Thank you.
Thank you, Toni. I mean, ultimately, these kids now have access, or, will be spending most of their time in the world's largest library, right? So there is definitely access to so much more information all the time and constantly. Obviously, that also raises concerns around too much digital time and what that could mean for mental well-being, but I think that's a different topic. So coming back to what we were talking about today, Luisa, I wanted to double click on this experience you've had with creating videos and sharing the knowledge through videos. How are you considering, very proactively and consciously, how are you considering the needs of your audience as you shape up your content and platform strategy?
Yes. What I did was actually, it started a day that someone through the comments on the YouTube asked me if I have a more specific or a course like this. What I use it is I receive a lot of emails by some people like sending me CVs or actually asking me help on their graduation projects. So I answered this email asking them about if they wanted a course. And the trigger that to really make and what could be on the course, I used the Instagram that I have. I have more than 25,000 people on my Instagram. So I asked them through the stories like, what do you think about a course? How do you think the model of the course could be? Could be separate by sports, could be just one by one. You prefer to see more about the specs of architecture, more about how to project, how to design. So I actually use, because Instagram is more quickly, so you could talk and the people could answer, you could add some question on the box. And I use this to get this information from my audience, so I could build, let's say, a storytelling for the course from this. So this is the tool that I use it to talk to the people. So it's the Instagram, also the comments on the YouTube. You could send an email. You can do a post on the feed and ask people to send an email to you. I think this is the way you could know what they need and know what they want from you.
Thank you for sharing that. I think, it's very clear that there's a need to react quickly and to pivot your content. So as someone who is doing the professional development, as someone who's creating content, as someone who's the educator, clearly you need to be agile and you need to be willing to go quickly wherever your audience are going. And, that as you talk about this, Luisa, it occurs to me that I think the other trend that's becoming clearer is that perhaps programs actually aren't as structured as they used to be in terms of thinking about an end-to-end lesson plan and putting professional development out there. You're really quickly pivoting, looking at what people are asking for, making that available. And you're still covering a whole lot of content and making it accessible. It's just that because you need to be agile, because you need to be scrappy sometimes in order to get it out. Often you just build as you go as well. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now I have a question for Tabata. How do you analyze your audience? Like, what do you look at when, when you're thinking about creating this content, and you've obviously been so successful on Instagram, how are you doing a needs analysis for your audience? And, what does this look like in your digital first world? I love the point you made about the fact that when you started this, all your interactions were in person. So that helped you a lot, and that informed you a lot in how you convert that into a digital engagement. But as you're spending more and more time online, how are you continuing to keep with the pulse of what your customers and your audiences need?
Okay. So first thing we need to understand about analyzing who is watching us, who is buying our content, who are my clients. To have your audience engaging in virtual education, virtual selling, you need to maintain interaction. People need to feel that what you're saying, planning, selling, it was thought of them, about their needs, because this generates engagement. And there is no point in generalizing. Even if you're thinking of reaching masses of people, you need to know who are these people? What are their interests? What do they like? They're natural or they like more traditional medicine? What is their age group? But once again, today we live in a world of very fast feedback with shares, comments, direct messages. So adjust your methods, adjust your tools according to the feedback you receive from your audience, not just someone that's, I didn't like outside. You need to know who is watching you. Are they loving? So keep doing, because the audience will always give to you because you're giving them a content. So keep improving. We always have something to learn and improve, but if you want to sell your class, your product, your training, it is knowing your audience and their needs and communicating with them that you will engage them even better. And I always say to my clients, no one likes a ready answer. If you want to engage, if you want to know your audience, they need to feel that there's another person, another human being talking to them in the other side, and not just a good afternoon, I will talk to you as soon as possible. That it's maybe a program will give you more time to think about the answer. But after that, you really need to go there and talk to them, because they don't want to talk to a machine. They want to talk to you. So I think that's a good way to analyze my audience and keep interacting with them.
Thank you. I actually really resonate with what you're talking about, Tabata, because I'm in a learning services organization. And what you're saying to me is, this is not really a service, is it? Where this is a human connection. This is still a teacher-student or mentor-mentee or coach-coachee style relationship. And we do need to continue to translate that in this online space for our learners to be able to get the most out of it. And this gets me thinking then about, even how I approach learning programs, because I'm like, oh, let's build these big programs and it's a service, we'll offer it, right? It's almost like you call a contact center for your phone connection and they're like, welcome, you'll be waiting 12 minutes for service. And that's what we want to avoid. We want to, despite it being digital and feeling more distanced, we want to continue to stay deeply in touch with the humanity of what we're trying to do here. Thank you. I have one last question for Toni, and then I want to open up for everyone attending to ask their questions as well. Toni, how are you thinking about building retention? So I really liked what you said about having access to information, and I think that's wonderful. But retention is really what drives success when it comes to learning. So how do you think about driving for successful retention when it comes to online learning and professional development?
Thank you, Darshini. Basically, what I'll say, the first thing I'll say is be interested in your learners. Always show interest. For instance, this pandemic, I checked on them through the online platform. We have a way which we communicate when they send in their assignments. There's a private comments column. So I ask them questions. How are you feeling? How has this pandemic affected you? And then when some of them, the teenagers, the accessory, the graduating class came on board for the exams, I asked a few of them, how did this pandemic affect you? How were you able to read for your exams? Were you, I showed interest in their personal lives. I think that helps with retention. I know that helps with retention. They have a sense of belonging when you show interest in their lives, when you ask, you're not just concerned about the educational aspect, about just delivery and delivery and delivery. No, when you show interest in what they're doing, how they're feeling, especially teenagers, because that self-esteem issue, they always have that self-esteem. So you have to show interest in how they're feeling, peer pressure, everything. So that has helped basically with retention, and I believe going forward it will still help, especially online, because online, believe it or not, yes, it mostly has to do with the system, technology, sorry, the computer is you and your computer. But you just have to put in the human feeling in it. So I think that's where it comes from. You just have to show interest in the lives of your learners.
Thank you, Toni. I think you definitely have the very, very hard job of shaping minds and shaping hearts at a time like this. And I would say, to your point about just being human and checking in on your learners. I mean, I think us adults need that too, right? This has been going on for so long, and it's been so incredibly hard for most places around the world that I think we owe it to each other to do that and check in. And in return, it's really going to help drive retention and help make our learning programs that much more successful. So thank you so much. I would like now to open up to the audience and see if we have any questions.
Darshini,
Neelima and Dr. Ann, do you want to take over?
yeah, I'm going to jump in now. Okay, thank you so much, Darshini, for fantastic moderation. And to each of our panelists, Luisa, Tabata, and Toni, thanks so much. Maybe we can take it out of screen share now, Darshini. So I want to first ask all of you, but you don't all have to answer, anyone who has something that they want to contribute, and including you, Darshini. I want to ask the 4 panelists 2 questions. First of all, I'm click. I'm making the connections between everything you're saying and BPW, but can you do that for us? So W right now for the last 6 months is webinar heavy, and I'm guilty of that. And that's all well and good. It's a very obvious way to deliver our professional development and other education. It's very teacher driven. It's very lecture oriented, but we do open it up to the audience. What other methods beyond webinar can we be using in BPW clubs? So any of you who have something to add to this?
So I'm happy to share some of the work that we're doing in Singapore. We're actually, simplifying, and we're using WhatsApp. So we have this nice member group and we have an exco group, and we just share, questions, thoughts, whatever it is that comes up. Anything from where do you get the best cheesecake all the way through to more serious things like, should we be thinking about, these topics for the next AGM, or even just sharing resources that our members have been working on around learning. So I think that's actually been a nice way to create a bit of asynchronous community feeling where people pitch in whenever they can. It's, again, you're busy, everyone's in front of a screen all the time. So it's hard often to make it to appointments like this on a regular basis, even if they're scheduled in advance. And maybe people are just tired at the end of the day and just don't want to be in front of a screen after spending 8 hours of doing work on a screen. So I think that we found that to actually be super effective to keep the engagement and also keep a bit of learning tied into what we're doing.
Okay, Tabata?
I believe that in this process of BPW Digital, I know there's a lot of people talking, but we could also use this to save information. So some things I believe were precious, and we used to go there and learn, and that's the end. We didn't have this idea of always recording, always putting out there after. And I believe that now we are using more Instagram and YouTube channels. And that's a good way to saving good memories and to putting out our woman faces out there. So if you said something, we just record that part and we're gonna put out there. And as now, when I started in BPW and I used to put BPW on YouTube, we could find some things, but just in English sometimes. But now when we put BPW out there, there's a lot of videos and in many different languages. And that's a really good way for us to save our informations out there and our faces too as women.
Great, thanks, Tabata. I think I can safely say that we're all equally charmed by what you're saying and also by the rooster in the background. One thing we can't control for in professional development is whatever's happening in the background of the speaker, and so what? let it be part of it. Enjoy it, right? Anybody else among the panelists want to add anything more about how we can be using this for BPW?
Yes.
Right now, I'm just asking our 4 panelists. So, Luisa.
No, that's okay. And I think there is a good tool that I use that BPW here in Brazil and young BPW especially we start to use. It was the lives on the Instagram, because this is something open to the public. And then you just pop up, and then we started to invite each other. So my friends that don't know about BPW, they saw me in a live with something that actually is BPW, young BPW in Brazil. So they could enter there, and then they could get more information, that they could see what BPW is. And I think Instagram now, it is a big tool for us to achieve the people that don't know us. The same as I explained about the daughter of the woman that works in my home, that this is a space that it's really good for us to be talking to each other and for us to change this knowledge that we have. But we could reach more people if we stayed on an open space. And also we could do lives, like you could use a live on Instagram to also be online at the same time for the YouTube. So also you could get some people for the YouTube. And as Darshini has said, the Instagram is more like people are around there, and then they see something cool and they stay, they could interact, they could be there, they could go out, they could come back. So this is something that is not like it's scheduled, but we could reach some people that is just around there and then wants to see what we are talking and wants to see more about it. You could save it, so it could be in our IGTV channel of the BPWs around the world. So if you want to see, send to somebody later, it's record there. You just could send to people. So I think, and for my experience, I reached a lot of people after a lot of lives, like in these past 6 months, that in 3 years that I have my Instagram for sports architecture, like, and BPW also reach a lot of people, new people in these days, the same way here as our experience here in BPW and BPW in Brazil.
Okay, great. So you mentioned a lot Instagram Live, of course, YouTube Live you also mentioned, and there's Facebook Live and Twitter Live, and I'm not sure about LinkedIn. Someone else can tell us whether LinkedIn has a live function as well. Not yet? Okay, because that's where we should be broadcasting of all. Okay, Toni, did you want to add anything to this? Okay, great.
Oh, yeah, basically they've said it all. Then we could also put YouTube links on Instagram posts to make other people know what's happening, so they can click on the link and go to YouTube. We could just put them on a post, and I know LinkedIn also has live too, so we can also do that for the professional world.
Okay, so before I open it up to the audience, I want to actually put something else, one more question to our 4 panelists, and then I'll open it up to everyone. And Anna, you're first. I've seen your hand up for a while. So my other question is about challenges. We are all adapting reasonably well, different levels of adaptation. By we, I mean BPW, in terms of adapting what we used to do consistently offline, as we might say these days, but in the physical world, onto the online format now. I'm not sure, other than webinar, how much we're doing with the online format, but what kind of challenges might we find in terms of professional development? What bumps might be along the way?
I could say that in the started was the way that we talk. I record like my first videos on this way, and then I will send it to my cousin that she works a little bit on this area, so she could help me, because I repair that when I speak in English, I talk a lot of so this is, I don't know if there is a word, but the way you talk is something that you need to learn to people understand better, to don't use a lot of the same words on this kind of type of things. It's the same as you are doing in the audience with real people, but on the online, it's accept everything. You don't have another person at the same time that is asking you at the moment. So you have to understand to speak slowly, to sometimes have a paper that what you're going to talk about, and how to learn to interact with the camera that people are not used to it. You normally want to interact to a person, but now you're interact to a camera that you don't know even if the people, in the case of the lives, you don't see them like we are seeing everybody here, but you have to accept that you have to feel what to say and expect that whatever it is, people will understand. It's an online format and that's the way we work.
And trust that you have an audience listening to you if you can't see them. Darshini, you wanted to add something, I think.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges that will likely to become more pronounced as we kind of continue on this journey of being rather isolated and spending more time with our screens is competing priorities. I think, you know, the wonderful thing about being able to meet up in a room was you were in that room and you would interact with people, you would make friends. It's possible to do that. It's, you know, it's wonderful to see faces come back to these webinars. It's wonderful to be able to build those connections, but it's not the same thing. You know, we're not standing by the side with a cup of coffee or a drink in our hand, talking about our dogs or talking about our, you know, the last trip we took and connecting at that level. So I think when it's hard, when we're not in that physical space, it's very easy to compete with other priorities because our members are also busy with industry guilds that they're part of, or trade guilds that they're part of, or just you know, other professional groups, or with their customers. They're spending more time online with their customers, offering that personalized service, or with their students, because students need that one-on-one time more than they did in the past. And I think that will lead to more and more people really force prioritizing what they can do. And, you know, we're human beings, we cannot, and it cannot be healthy for us to be sitting in front of a laptop. I'm guilty of this, by the way, sitting in front of a laptop 16 hours straight. This, you know, I can already feel my neck and eyes growing much older than I am. And that's not going to be sustainable. And I think people are just going to start putting their foot down and say, I'm going to have to reprioritize. And I can do these three things, I can't do the other three. And so I think for us as an organization, it's then thinking about what value do we add and how do we release some of these stressors rather than add to any more stress of being online constantly. So I would say I see that as becoming more and more critical for individuals.
Great. So Luisa, you wanted to add something to your previous comment, and then Tabata, and then Toni.
Yes, actually, just what I wanted to add is this is as the same as Darshini said, like people wants to see people. I could tell that I started 2 jobs in the pandemic by online and by home office without even know until this moment. I work for Qatar for FIFA World Cup and I never been in Qatar, and I'm working for them has 4 months. And this is the weird thing that in Qatar, they don't open sometimes, a lot of times, the camera. So for me, sometimes when we are in the meeting, it's weird that I'm talking to someone that I don't see the face. And I don't know how it's going to be when I met these people in person. At the same time, the other job that it's here in Brazil, I started online, but I already be in the office now. So we see each other for the first time after 2 months working and said, okay, now we are really know each other, because like we are working, we know each other, but it's the first time we are seeing each other in person. So this is a new way, a new format that we need these people talk, but also it's a good thing. Like I'm working Brazil to Qatar. This is just the internet, the online format that could give this to me.
Okay, thanks, Luisa. Tabata?
So a few things of the psychological point of view. The challenges of working online. First, it's something new for a lot of people. We used to think that we were in a bubble, that everyone has access to internet, and we can see now that lots of people doesn't have internet, WhatsApp, they don't have free access for Wi-Fi. and a small part of the population, yes, they had. So now when here we are inviting someone to do a live with us, that's another point. You have animals, you have your personal life, going to your job and your job in your personal life. So you need to de-stress. Sometimes it's new. You're gonna to start do something that is stressful for us. Doesn't matter what's your age. You're gonna start to talk to a camera, and that's a new format. I know people that used to talk for 100 people in BPW panels in Brazil, and when I invite them to do one live, they just get so scared that they can't even go on just to press a button, I accept to be online. And so we need to teach about behavior on internet, things that you could do, what people can see behind, because sometimes we don't think about it, and it's a new format. It's important. Sometimes we don't even pay attention what the person is saying, because behind there's so much things, or there's a lot of things going on. And the sounds in our personal life, now we have home office. I can't stop someone to eat just because I'm in a panel for 1 hour, so they can eat. I just can't be stressed just because they're eating, and people will hear probably some plates or forks, something like this. So about mental health, I think on internet, on digital model, we need to have an agenda. Fix a place where you're gonna work in your house. Fix an agenda. I'm gonna work this and this day for this many hours. Otherwise, you're gonna be working 24 hours and mixing up your personal life with your home office. And that's not good for our mental health.
Great. And Toni.
Thank you very much, Dr. And two things. Time difference also could be a challenge. For instance, you're here, it's morning here, and you have a business partner or someone you're trying to work in something, and the person is night for that person. So trying to fix a convenient time also could be a challenge. I remember also my auntie just before the pandemic, she left Nigeria and traveled with her daughter. And then school started online. But she went to the States, so the time difference, it's crazy. We're here in the morning, but it's night over there. And then Mariah was she was having challenges waking up to keep up with the online classes. She missed a lot, and her tests, she actually she flunked a bit of them, and she wasn't too happy because she's very bright. So time difference also it affects. And I also agree with Tabata. You have to know how to manage your time, because sometimes it's too much information overload. You know, you have this webinar, you have that online meeting, you have that. It's information overload sometimes. So you have to know where to strike a balance. If not, you know, mental health, like Tabata, you have to know it will affect you in the end. Mentally, it will affect you if you don't know how to strike a balance. I think those are the challenges.
Okay, we have not a lot of time left. We want to have 2 or 3 questions from the audience. We've heard a lot from our 4 panelists today, a very rich webinar. Anu, I'd like to come to you first.
Hello, I hope you can hear me. First, thank you very much for the very interesting and constructive webinar. I am Anu Viks, the past president of BPW Estonia, and also the member of BPW Leadership and Lifelong Learning Task Force. And with the task force, we are preparing a leadership training for women, for BPW members. And my question to our panelists is that how can we invite more BPW members to the training? I'm asking because some of you are the presidents of your federations and clubs, and I often see that the information that is going out often doesn't reach the members. So can you give me some good tips how, for example, to reach as many members as possible? Thank you.
So that's a great question, Anu. I think it's a two-way street. I think doing a lot of online work actually allows us to expand our member base. So, on one hand, we're trying to solve the problem of having more members attend a lot of these workshops and trainings, but also the other way to think about it is this is a great way to invite qualified people to come into your program and become members of your BPW chapters. And we've actually found that to be pretty incredible in Singapore. And, we've seen a different type, different demographic come in and join us as well. It's the usual stuff. We communicate early, send newsletters, do WhatsApp reminders because we do have an active WhatsApp group. And because it's been a referral-based way through which we've grown our member base, if you show up, your friend shows up, and then their friends show up, and then it just has this knock-on effect in having people sign up. So I think doing fewer things, doing them in more depth has also allowed us not to water down participation, but to continue to sustain interest in a lot of these activities. And then involving the members themselves. So if they are invested in actually delivering a part of the training or delivering a part of a presentation, then more people show up. So I feel like keeping them engaged in that sense is another way. So I don't have any other tips beyond this. It feels like it's the most basic stuff to do. But I think the big learning for us has been we've actually been able to attract new members because of the kind of work we've been doing through this.
I would also recommend Darshini's webinar on engaging participants online. You were probably in that, Anu, but that was a previous webinar we did, and it's available on our YouTube channel. Tabata, you wanted to contribute to this.
Yes, one thing I was talking about what Darshini just said about inviting someone, just like you can't have everyone talking, but you could give them some responsibility. When we have some responsibility, we go on because we know people are expecting for us. And sometimes when we don't have that, we forget. So just put them in a different group of that event and just tell them, I'm going to recognize you there because it's important for me that you're there representing your BPW or representing your city or something like this. And the other thing about not talking about responsibilities now, it's people want to be recognized, especially now in digital form. Like no one will see that you're there. Sometimes in lives on Instagram, you're just a number, no one knows, and you need to put, hey, I'm there, I'm good, I'm liking what you're talking. So one good thing that I've realized that it's engaging people, it's if you have a group, just send the pictures of who will be there. So, oh, Dr. Anna has confirmed that she will be there. So here's her picture. She is working with this and just a small text about her. Just tell the person, oh, you're going to be there. Great. Just send me your summary of what you're doing because I want to tell the group that you will be there. And when you do that, you put the photos, you mark people, you just, they will feel that it's important for you that they will be there. And you can just ask one of the members to be with this endo marketing part. Like, can you, every time someone confirm, talk to them and ask them a little bit of what they are doing and one picture, because we're going to send in the group. So other people that won't be there, they're gonna say, well, I want my picture there and I want people to know what I'm doing too. So I'm gonna subscribe for this event and I want to be there too. And this will engage people even more because they will know you're gonna talk about them, their pictures will be there, and you can just invite just one person to do that with you. It's pretty easy, just 30 minutes, 20 minutes, one day, they could do this for all the participants.
So again, it comes to relationships. I will just add a general comment about about engaging people, but also going beyond the webinar format. I would suggest exploring the other functions in whatever platform you're using. So we use Zoom a lot, as the world is using a lot, but of course there are other platforms. But within Zoom, for example, use the breakout rooms, put people into smaller groups and have them discuss, and then bring them back to the larger room. I use that a lot. Use the whiteboard function, and it can be made interactive. So other people in the room, in the meeting, can also be using that whiteboard and writing on it. And that's much more engaging for the audience because they're now actually doing something. And these also apply to the way we used to do our trainings in the physical world. So when we use a whiteboard, when we use breakout rooms, it feels familiar to people, but it also offers some variety. we're all a little bored with staring at screens and listening to talking heads by now. So I think we need to start utilizing some of these other tools, and there are others as well. So let's explore what else we can be doing. We actually are out of time, so we didn't have a lot of time for the audience today, but I do hope that you got a very rich experience with our 4 panelists. And Nilima, I will give you a minute to, if for anything you want to add before we close, and then I'll close up our meeting.
Hello. So what I would like to add, when it comes to online training, one of the examples that I have seen in the last few months in Nepal is that we invited one of the young, person, young, not a BPW member, young speaker in one of our BPW event to give us, she's running a political literacy workshops, like online workshops in Nepal. So she's very famous in Nepal right now. So what we did is, a lot of times we invite, speakers, but what we do is we listen to them and at the end of the story. So this was completely different because then what happened was a lot of people started understanding why women need to understand politics. So she then had, we did a collaboration with her and we had a political literacy for women workshop for BPW members. We had a 5-day workshop and now these women are, requesting for an even longer course so that they can understand more because we are having an election in the next 2 years. So we want more representation of women and not just the representation of where, well-informed voters. So this is one of the best thing about online, platform that had happened in Nepal, one of the best example. And as you all know that BPW Goes Digital, this webinar that has been taking place for last, it started in June, I guess. So what I've seen is a lot of people have approached me and said that going through, different videos that we have recorded has helped them in different parts and different phases of their life, whether it is in business or it was in BPW events, any with digitally, we were able to equip them. So I think one of the things that we can do, in future is that it's not just to do during the COVID crisis, but also, start this movement of advocacy in a on different topics within BPW through online. I was at the NGO CSW forum like few days back, and one thing that was mentioned is like the next thing that we can do to amplify this this whole revolution of women equality. We talk about it only in conferences. So what we can do is we can use the social media to pressurize our government, for all the rights that we have been asking for. So we need to use that now more than ever. So I think this online training should not just be about business or profession, but to bring awareness about the social issues as well. So yeah, that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Nilima. Okay, we want to give a really big thank you, round of applause, everyone. Really big thank you to our panelists and to Darshini, especially for that moderation, but to all of our panelists. We want to also give a big thank you to all of you for joining us in the audience today. This will be online in 24 hours and announced on our Facebook page, so you'll be able to see it, or just check our YouTube channel, BPW Goes Digital, and you'll see it there. And then please share it with your own affiliates. So we hope to spread the word and get BPW's digital capacity through the roof. Let's do that together. Thanks to all of you. Thanks again to our panelists. Bye for now.